Hello, and welcome to the ESG Experience podcast brought to you by Conservice ESG. I'm Helee Lev, Conservice ESG's Chief Revenue Officer.
And I'm Ryan Nelson, Conservice ESG's CEO, and we're your hosts for today's episode.
Whether you're an ESG expert or just dipping your toes in the ESG universe to understand how it can help with engaging stakeholders, mitigating risk, and attracting investors, this podcast is for you. Together, we will navigate the alphabet soup of ESG, discuss ideas, review strategies, and share industry news and trends. In today's episode, we're going to be doing a deep dive into one of my personal favorite topics, DE&I, diversity, equity, and
inclusion.
Yeah. And we're very pleased to be joined by Eddy Soffer, ESG Manager at Interactive Brokers. Hello, Eddy. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course. This is the part where you have to sit there and grimace or smile as I read through your accolades and accomplishments.
Oh, he should be proud.
Yeah, or sit there and be proud. Ready? Okay. So our special guest today, Eddy, leads the Interactive Brokers ESG strategy and planning through the development of sustainable trading products while also spearheading the incorporation of ESG fundamentals and reporting frameworks into the firm. He has made significant contributions in the creation and development of Impact, a values-aligned trading platform for the modern investor. Having Middle Eastern roots while growing up in Mexico and the U.S., Eddy has a unique upbringing and background, which inspired him to create a tool that brings investors together from around the world by allowing them to express themselves through their investments. Working alongside ESG Director William Peterfy, they imagined a platform that would connect the dots between people's financial decisions and their values. Impact joins Eddy's financial background as his personal passion for ESG. So welcome again, happy to have you. And I might point out, as you say, connecting the dots between people's financial decisions and their values, it hits close to home with our mission, does it not?
It does, yes, yeah. I mean, our vision is that, when we look at a company's value, and I know that you said some similar things, when you look at a company's value, the financial performance is only a part of the story. The company's value to us as a society, we'd like to know a little bit more about the company, such as their environmental impact, net negative, net positive, their social impact, fairness within leadership and transparency and all this kind of stuff. So yes, important and on point.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I was gonna say, I'm very excited to be here and talk about that because it's such a trend that is happening globally, not just in the US. So I'm excited to elaborate on it and to talk about some of the things that we're working on.
Good, yeah. You've been on this ESG journey, as I gather, for almost a decade now. What inspired you to take that journey? How did it start? How did you get here?
Sure. So I've been working in finance for so many years, and from so many different kind of roles, from equity research to credit to analyst to sales, and there was always something missing to me. And it's not a cliche. I'm really just saying this, but I know it sounds like it's like what is the purpose of my job? What am I trying to achieve ultimately by doing this? I wasn't really fulfilled, and my personal life, I tried to be sustainable or ESG friendly as much as I can. I'm sure I still have a lot to learn. And so I was always trying to find a way to marry sort of like my personal life with my professional life. And that's where sort of like the seeking commenced. And so when I was at my prior firm at Brown Brothers Harriman, I attended a conference in South America, and somebody was chatting about ESG and how to integrate it into financial decisions, into the workplace. And to me, that sort of, lit a light bulb lit, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is something that I've been seeking to do for so many years, and actually people are doing this. It was early on, so during that conference, I can tell you that no one was paying attention to the person that was presenting, but I was very inspired, and that's how the journey started actually. And so I started just learning ESG on my own. There really wasn't many resources out there, so I just was looking up a lot of information on the internet and just voraciously trying to see what's happening out there and connect with people in the field. So that's how the journey started for me. And then I started bringing sustainability into Brown Brothers Harriman, and more recently to Interactive Brokers.
I had a similar kind of start where work was a means to an end, and it was like, I could have some passion projects and things, but the business that I was doing, which was a big portion of my life, it felt like it was missing something. And so when I eventually changed careers, that was very important to me, that I don't want to work as a means to an end to do things on the weekends. I want the work I'm doing to be socially aligned, and now that mission-based is the common term. So that's kind of how I got here as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to remember if I ever felt I was like living for my weekends. I don't. Maybe it's my generation, but I feel like I've always worked at something or done something that I felt like derived more than just a paycheck. But and I think even more so now with the generation that comes after me, it's almost like a prerequisite. Like for me, it was just maybe call it luck, or maybe call it I won't do something for too long if I'm not passionate about it. But I think now it's even a precursor to other considerations like compensation or location or things like that, is that the work has to be meaningful. And I don't know, maybe that's the world heading in the right direction, right? For a change. But all right, so we've talked about how the overall role is rewarding, of course, because it's mission-based and you're doing what you love and loving what you do, to use the ultimate cliche. But what is specifically the most rewarding aspect of your position at Interactive Brokers?
I think it's just driving change. As you know, change is something that takes time and not everybody is very comfortable with. So that to me is very exciting. It is creating a path for the firm into the future of sustainability. It's a great time to be in the field because we're seeing ESG across all industries globally. And for me to be a part of this sort of revolutionary movement is really exciting. Obviously, we need to keep in mind that changing culture is something that needs to be done, like it has to be done in a very sensitive way. So you have to be careful and discuss it with senior management and see how fast or how slow you're going to be moving towards that direction. But there is a lot of support to move forward in ESG. So the other exciting part of the job is the sort of new things that we're bringing to the firm. Employees are getting very excited. They want to get more involved. There's much more enthusiasm around it. And it's assisting us in our recruiting process. People that are joining the firm are hearing about ESG, like, oh my God, I want to learn more. I want to get involved. So there's a lot of rewarding thing. I can't really pinpoint it to one, but I think it's like I mentioned, it's a really cool time to be in ESG.
Yeah, if you enjoy driving change, which, like you said, driving change, being a change implementer, there is a lot to do there, and it's an interesting kind of skill set that it takes to successfully drive change and listen and be patient and set a pace that your firm can manage. I remember kind of in my consulting days, it was always the last thing when we were rolling out software or whatever we were doing, a change management. We had to remember, oh yeah, we better do change management. When we just slap this new process in front of everyone, and I was like, what's change management? And then you're like, oh, months before we do this, we're going to start to sprinkle the idea. We're going to engage so that they're part of the process, that whole concept. So it's good that you enjoy that, because it can be tough.
Yeah, that change management is definitely something that is very present today. And I think that there's so much to learn about it. And I think that you can look at so many great examples out there in the industry about how it's being done. And just quickly, just to reference, one of my favorite chairmans out there is Bernard Looney from British Petroleum. I think he's doing an incredible job. He's in such a tough position being a fossil fuel company and being in the oil industry. And he is so, I believe, so ahead of all others in terms of spearheading how his company is changing into renewables. So there's a lot to learn from them. And I think all leaders like myself and others can take a look at what he is doing and take a note of how the change is being done.
Yeah, no, that's an incredible point. Kind of in line with that, it's great to hear the excitement at your organization with this change and people reacting well to it and helping recruiting and those types of things. What experience do you have with greenwashing or people, not having authenticity behind what they're trying to do? Is that something that you've seen or experienced or navigated?
I think greenwashing is a very important topic these days. It's been on the news in the last couple of days. I'm sure you've seen it in financial services with regulatory agencies getting involved and making sure that companies are being genuine in the way that they're advertising their products as ESG. That's something that we are very mindful of in the design of our products to the strategy that we are focusing on as it relates to the firm, in being very transparent and being genuine. You have to be able to walk the talk. And I think it's coming from so many different places in terms of the pressure of just being very true to what you're doing. It's coming from the regulatory environment, but it's also coming from shareholders, it's coming from activists, it's coming from consumers, it's coming from employees. So it's a very timely topic, and it's one that needs to be very clear. And I think it's good for the industry. The term sounds terrible, and it's obviously something that is gonna make ESG even better going forward.
Yeah, I think I again, when I was just some of the content that you've put out there, I think it was maybe William that said it's not 1990 anymore, it's not the 90s anymore, and these are the expectations. We're expecting consumers, individuals in society, humans are expecting more out of their businesses, and faking it isn't going to, I mean, now we've got regulation and other things, but we've got individuals who just demand it. So faking it's going to get sniffed out, I think, more easily as we go.
Yeah, and I'll add, I mean, speaking of being sniffed out, so, it's hard to kind of just get by having an ESG webpage or touting some stats on your accomplishments. And to that end, if people want to get serious about it and they don't want to be called out, via the SEC's whistleblower network, or they don't want to be called out by LPs, or they don't want to be the front page of, the news, they have to truly invest and truly believe. So one thing I've noticed about your firm in particular, ESG Manager is your full-time role. So your firm obviously acknowledges the importance of having a full-time, senior, dedicated person to just ESG, not the head of investor relations that puts on the ESG hat when they need to, not the head of asset management that in their spare time that they don't have leads ESG. So, that says something certainly about Interactive Brokers, about your firm. So with that in mind, you guys take it seriously, you walk the walk, you're not greenwashing, you have dedicated resources to making sure that your ESG it's real and tangible. Tell us a bit more about the origin of the Impact app that you have created and what went into that and why it's important.
Certainly. So you got me talking about something that I'm very excited about. The Impact app was launched in November of 2021, last year. And it really has been a labor
brand
of love.
New.
Yeah, it's relatively new. It really has been a labor of love. It precedes the Impact Dashboard, which is a tool that we launched a year prior, and it's part of our trading platform, more for very sophisticated traders. But that's where the seed was planted. We wanted to create something that would be on a standalone basis, and they would open it up to the world, to all investors, even those who are just getting started. So the app itself is very simple to use. It's very intuitive, attractive, and it's for even people that never traded before on stocks. And I feel like it's such a unique product because it personalizes your sustainability trading journey, right? So sustainability and ESG means different things to different people. So, I can care more about one thing that the other person doesn't. So what we do as soon as you start the app is we ask you, what are your personal values? Please select things that you care about most. And we've designed 13 values. Those 13 values were inspired by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and also by the SASB reporting framework here in the United States. And so with those in mind, we created these personal, values that really can encompass a lot of things that you feel very passionate about, from clean air to pure water, LGBTQ inclusion, gender diversity. And with that in mind, once you select your values, you're able to get a letter score that will indicate how closely aligned you are with your investments and your values. So the app itself was inspired just by looking at how people see things differently, right? And then not everybody is the same. However, the overall mission is to help the planet and society. And so with that in mind, we designed this tool along with Will and myself when I first started initially about just bringing something that's different and unique. And there's really no other tool like that out there that allows you to add this personal touch to your sustainability journey. What's also very exciting is that we added other features that are really cool. We allow users to measure their carbon footprint. So you're able to offset your activities in a very seamless way. And we also give the opportunity for users to give back to their communities. So it's not just about investing and making money, but also perhaps taking some of your returns and investing it into charities that also align with your values. So it's an awesome package of features that I believe help sustainable traders really fulfill their mission.
Yeah, Eddie, it's so cool. I mean, it's so awesome. I downloaded the app. I watched all the commercials. I love my job here, or else I would be trying to get a job to help you guys on this app, because I mean, I think it's really cool. I have family members and others who literally are not investing at all. They are 100% against the capital markets, the corporate, players, all that kind of thing. I'm going to tell them that I think we have the solution now. Someone has found a way for you to navigate, because there are good companies out there. There's tons of good companies. There's tons of great companies, people that are doing good things, and that it's just how do you figure that out and how you build a portfolio. So I feel badly when there's people who aren't able to participate in what's pretty common function of our economy here and just create wealth and make some money by putting your hard work to work and putting it somewhere and making some money, and like this solves for it. So it's very, very cool. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I was wondering, I noticed these are similar but not exactly the same as SDGs. So we work with SASB and the SDG stuff too. But you guys just felt that you wanted to put a personal touch, or some of it didn't quite fit in financial services or something to that effect?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We wanted it to be unique, and we wanted to dig a little deeper. For example, we took sort of the diversity, equity, and inclusion values and broke it down into 3 different ones. And we want those to be dynamic. We want those to change as the world changes. You're seeing so many things happening around us. And so it gives us an opportunity to be flexible with these values, and also to listen to what our customers are saying and eventually introduce new ones if they're needed. And it's been really incredible to create these 13 values with the inspiration of agencies that you just mentioned that have done so much of the legwork for us, but taking it to the next level and personalize it. So that was the thinking behind the creation of the values.
I'm not going to make you do it, but could you name all 13?
Ooh, oh my goodness. So we'll be on the clock. I'll do my best. Let's see if I can do it.
I wasn't going to make you do it. I was just asking you for an honest yes or no, if you could. I won't make you do it. You think probably?
I could say probably 95% I would be able to do it.
95. Okay. Do you have a favorite? What does your profile look like in the app?
Absolutely. I think for me is racial equality, as well as LGBTQ inclusion. And then the other one is also clean water and pure air. I think those are the 4 ones. I know you asked me for one, but I wanted to give you a wholesome sort of picture. Those are near and dear to me, given my background and where I grew up. And I try to live by those values to the extent that I can.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate all those. I'm always drawn to ocean life. Is always, probably would be high on my radar. But everything you said, and of course it's Pride Month now. And everything you said is really cool.
All right, so I appreciate what you said, Ryan. I had never heard that in all of the years of knowing you, that people that literally won't invest money. Like this is a barrier, like they believe companies to be so evil or won't figure out the good ones that they'll like put their money in a mattress instead or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, credit unions. They believe that credit unions are local credit unions are the best thing that they can do to make a little bit of money and participate in. They won't even put them in big banks. No, to put it with local credit unions that, are helping the community. Yeah, that's it.
That's fair. That's also admirable. Yeah, I mean.
But now I'm going to get them in the markets. So
yeah, there you go. You have a couple of referral clients from Ryan, so make sure, I'll maybe take a referral commission from sitting in the room when the deal went down. But yeah, make sure you follow. All right, so as we know, as I mentioned at the beginning, I think this new generation of folks that are kind of coming up and through the workforce now and those to come after, these are ESG conscious-minded professionals in every aspect of their life and where they put their money, in the consumer brands that they use, the whole cancel culture, of course. The minute that we find that someone's doing something that's perceived as wrong, the whole thing gets canceled. And there's a lot of power now in social media and the ability to get the word out. I think now every company is constantly has to watch their back because they're going to be exposed in every which way for everything that they do, and there are platforms now to disseminate that information. So if we think about this next generation of students, of professionals, what can they do better, or how can they leverage these tools that are available to them, to do good, to help promote good, and not just maybe be judgmental about where they're putting their money and where they're working? Like, what can they actually do?
Yeah, I think there's so much that they can do, and I think times have changed dramatically since I first started looking at ESG. First of all, do the research, right? I think that it doesn't have to be that intimidating. I think there's so many different resources out there that are very clear and are not complicated to understand what ESG is all about. As soon as you do a Google search on ESG, you get tons of information in there. So I think that's a great opportunity to get education. I think they should also try to find a mentor or someone that is involved in the field so they can talk to them and say, okay, I'm interested in sustainability. I'm interested in either getting involved or investing. How should I start? What should I be doing? And then obviously look at the investment tools like ours, like Impact. I think they're so straightforward and so easy to use that, there's a lot of information there. We even have educational modules that give you the background on ESG, how it started, where it's evolving, where it's going. You can also get subscriptions to quite a number of ESG publications. You can listen to your podcast as well to learn quite a lot about ESG. So I think there's so many resources, and I believe that if you have a passion for it, you'll be able to connect to the right people. And I think it's an exciting time to be in it. No matter what industry you're involved in, you'll be able to hear about sustainability and learn more. I continue to learn more myself. I don't consider myself an expert. Every day there's something new and things continue to change, but it's an awesome time to see how sustainability is starting to make the world a better place to live in. And one other point that I wanted to add is the pandemic, social justice and wars, all, horrible events that are taking place, but it is sort of making us discuss more about ESG, and it's elevating it to the top of the agenda in so many different ways. So I think there's a lot of good that's coming out of it, and I think it's helping hopefully to make the planet a better place and for the environment and for societies. So
yeah, I hate to even use the term silver lining or whatever, but yes, 2020 really shined the light on social injustice, as the pandemic being a big part of that, but there were other things that it was a really rough year. And if anything, as we kind of say, random acts of sustainability and initiatives that were happening for probably hundreds of years, but now we've come to this commercially accepted term, green, sustainability, all this, and kind of come that we understand that ESG is going to be something that we have to consider and put value to and measure each other by. So yeah, the conversation is really happening. What about, so we're there, so maybe it's been, all this chaos and we kind of have a way to talk about it now. What are you most excited about then for the future of this conversation in ESG over maybe the next decade? Big leaps and bounds or little steps, or what's going to happen?
I think that we're on this rocket ship, to be honest with you. When I first started looking at sustainability, it was moving very slowly. But given sort of the world events that I had just mentioned, in addition to climate change, it's really accelerating. You're seeing ESG everywhere. And you're seeing it almost, well, I remember back then when I first started, maybe there was one article on ESG a day, maybe once a week, here and there. And now there's like from multiple publications to the major publications, to news channels, to Elon Musk tweeting about it. So we're definitely moving very, very fast. And what I'm most excited about is to see the impact of all this on planet and society, is to see how companies are definitely going to start moving in the direction of putting out products that will help the environment, that will help society. I'm excited to see how everybody's starting to connect on this theme. I know that people have different views, but again, there is an ultimate goal. So I'm excited to see how this is all going to turn out and to see companies change. We're seeing it, in the retail and apparel and the fashion industry. We're seeing it in food. We're seeing it in sort of, distribution, logistics companies, oil companies. It's everywhere. So all this change is for the better, and so I'm excited about the impact that's going to have.
Yeah, and riding that rocket ship is interesting, and we're going to have to deal with some backlash, and Elon saying it's dumb and things like that are going to happen. But to me, none of that's, the core value or the core idea that individuals care about the environment and about each other is going to hold. However, the indexes shake out and, the backlash and the conversation that's going to happen, to your point, it's happening. So we'll get through that stuff.
And
yeah, the indicators are correct, but hopefully it's enough in time. I always think about, I feel like there'll be people in Miami who have water coming under their front door and be like, well, what's happening? Why didn't we do something? And it's like, until you get it with that slap, or until it affects your life directly, like I said, hopefully the right things are happening. It's top of conversation. I think it's, companies are taking the right steps, and the regulations coming from the top, and the investors are putting the right pressure, but I still just hope it's enough in due time. So time will tell, I suppose.
Well, and Eddie, sorry if you had something to say, we'll get to you. The other cool thing I was just reflecting, so with impact and what you're focusing your career on here, not only are you saying, okay, because you've merged it's the financial, or it's investor, people that want to invest. So not only maybe people that want to invest now are more comfortable investing, it almost sparks the thing, like, even if you didn't want to invest, now I do, because I actually do want to help these companies. If someone can point me to these good companies, I do want to support them a little bit. So it's not only like I had a barrier to investing maybe, but maybe I didn't care about investing, and now I do, because those 13 values are so cool, and I want to contribute to them. So very cool.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for mentioning that. And the one thing I wanted to also add to what we were discussing before is that, just like we were mentioning before, how it's difficult to obviously change cultures. This is at a global level, right? So you will see sort of pushback, and we mentioned how some people are against it, and they're going to say this is a scam, and the indices. This is all good. I really believe this is all good. Again, look at the silver lining, and it is uncomfortable because it's pushing people to change and do things that they weren't really focused on before. So that's sort of the uncomfortable thing that's happening, that's going to lead us to a better place.
Yeah, 80% of, like 10 years ago, 80% of conversations I would have about climate change are, does it exist? Most of us aren't having those conversations anymore. We're having problem-solving conversations and things like that. So maybe that's the evolution. Now it's like a little bit polarized. Eventually, and there will always be some radical point of view, but then eventually we'll just be having conversations about it instead of, is it dumb? Is it real? Those conversations maybe eventually kind of fizzle. Well, I could talk about each of these values and ESG and the impact and all that for a long time, but we have an important part of the program we need to get to here, bring a little levity to the conversation. We call this, it's a little game we play, Eddie. So Beans or Beer is the name of the game. And I am going to say the name in this kind of local community, small business, artisan world that we live in. I'm going to pick either a coffee maker or a beer maker. I'm just going to tell you the name, and you just have to guess. Do they make beer or do they make coffee? Beans or beer, okay? You're gonna lose your mind when you hear what the name of this company is. Impact.
Beans and beer. They produce both.
This company does not. This is Impact Coffee in Decorah, Iowa.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, you might join up and do some promo with them or something, but look like a cool theme to me for my first pass on their website, socially responsible, kind of smart, small coffee maker in Decorah, Iowa. But anyway, yeah, it's called Impact Coffee. So
that would be rough if they weren't thoughtful or mindful, like they called their coffee Impact, but it was like a terrible company.
Yeah, like a negative impact.
Like,
Yeah. I would presume if you're going to do that, you're making a positive one, or want to anyhow.
Yeah, I was going to say. Sorry to interrupt. I was going to say, when you said impact, I thought you were referring to us, and that's why I answered both, because you can actually have coffee and also have fun doing it. So another impact altogether, which is good to know.
No, agreed. Yeah, and you guys, so Impact. Do you run as your own business, or you're part of Interactive Brokers, or what's the quick version of how you're connected?
Absolutely. So Impact is by Interactive Brokers. So it's a product of, just like the other tools that we have out. So it's designed with all the teams that work at Interactive Brokers. We just called it Impact. We want to reach a new audience of investors, the future of investors, honestly. So that is the reason behind the name and the different colors and features.
Very cool.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time and your insights. And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us on the ESG podcast. There's a new episode every month. So if you enjoyed your time with us, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast directory. And we appreciate you listening and supporting our podcast. If you do want to continue the conversation between episodes, follow us on your favorite social media channel at #ESG Experience. And we'll see you next time. And thanks again, Eddy. Appreciate it. And
thank you, Eddy.
Meet you in 3D someday.
Thank you.